The clock struck midnight as I found myself alone on a seemingly endless stretch of highway. The moon's feeble light barely pierced the inky darkness, casting an eerie glow on the worn pavement ahead. The only company I had was the soft hum of the engine and the occasional flicker of a distant street lamp. Unease settled in my chest, a lingering feeling that I was not truly alone. My grip on the steering wheel tightened as the world outside became a monochrome blur. Shadows danced at the edge of my vision, whispering secrets that I couldn't quite catch. I brushed off my unease as fatigue, my mind playing tricks in the late hour. But then I saw it, a figure standing by the side of the road, a solitary silhouette bathed in moonlight. My foot instinctively eased off the gas pedal as I approached, the figure becoming clearer with each passing moment. As I drew closer, I realized it was a woman, dressed in tattered clothing that seemed out of place in the modern world. Her eyes glowed an unnatural shade of red, locking onto mine with an intensity that sent a chill down my spine. I blinked, and she was suddenly in front of my car. My heart raced as I slammed on the brakes, the screech of tires mingling with a high-pitched laughter that seemed to emanate from all directions. I looked around frantically, my breath catching in my throat. The woman was gone, vanished as if she had never been there. Shaken, I put the car in reverse, eager to escape the nightmarish encounter. But as I backed up, I saw her again, standing in the middle of the road, a malevolent smile curling her lips. Her laughter grew louder, an unsettling cacophony that echoed in my ears. Fear gripped me, an icy hand squeezing my heart. I turned the wheel, swerving to avoid her, but it was as if she was everywhere at once, an omnipresent specter haunting my every move. Her voice whispered in my ear, a sinister melody that filled the car. I slammed on the gas, the engine roaring to life as I sped down the highway. My pulse thundered in my ears as I stole glances in the rearview mirror. The woman was still there, her form shifting and warping with each passing moment. A sign loomed ahead, promising the safety of a nearby town. I pushed the car to its limits, the wind howling around me as I raced toward salvation. The town's lights twinkled in the distance, a beacon of hope in the sea of darkness. But just as I entered the town limits, the laughter stopped. I glanced. The night was cloaked in a heavy darkness as I drove down the desolate highway, the hum of the engine providing the only company. The clock on the dashboard read 3 a.m., and fatigue was slowly seeping into my bones. I yearned for the comfort of my bed, but a long journey still lay ahead. My headlights cut through the inky blackness, illuminating the road ahead in a narrow tunnel of light. As I rounded a bend, a figure suddenly materialized on the shoulder. A young woman with disheveled hair and a tattered dress, her thumb outstretched in a hitchhiker's gesture. My heart raced as I approached her. Instinct screamed at me to keep driving, to ignore the phantom hitchhiker. Yet a sense of sympathy washed over me. I pulled over, the engine's rumble quieting as I rolled down the window. "Need a lift?" I asked cautiously, my voice barely above a whisper. She didn't speak, merely nodding and offering a faint smile. I unlocked the door and she climbed into the passenger seat. The air inside the car grew colder, a shiver running down my spine, but I shook off the unease, chalking it up to the chilly night air. I stole a glance at her from the corner of my eye. Her features were pale and ethereal, and her eyes held a distant sadness. I could feel her gaze on me, even as I focused on the road ahead. A sense of discomfort settled in, but her silence was oddly comforting. As the miles rolled on, my exhaustion deepened, and the steady rhythm of the road began to lull me into a trance. The woman's presence seemed to fill the car, a strange energy that tugged at my senses. My eyelids grew heavy, and I fought to stay awake, my grip on the steering wheel tightening. A sudden jolt brought me to full alertness. I swerved as the woman's fingers grazed my arm, her touch icy cold. My heart pounded, and I risked a glance at her. Her eyes burned with an intensity that sent a surge of dread coursing through me. "Stop the car," she whispered, her voice a haunting echo. I hesitated, my rational mind at war with an overwhelming urge to obey. The car gradually slowed to a stop on the side of the road. Panic gnawed at me as I turned to face her, her presence now suffocating. "Why?" I managed to stammer. She reached out, her fingers tracing a chilling path along my jawline. Her lips curled into a sinister smile, and a rush of terror coursed through me. My pulse quickened, and I fumbled for the door handle, desperate to escape. But as I opened the door and stumbled out, I realized I was alone. The woman had vanished into thin air, leaving behind nothing but an echoing whisper in the wind. I stood there, heart racing, the weight of the night pressing down on me. Shaken, I got back into the car and drove away, the memory of the vanishing hitchhiker etched into my mind. The rest of the journey was a blur, haunted by the chilling encounter. I arrived at my destination, shaken and unnerved, vowing to never drive that late at night again. To this day, I can't explain what had happened that night, whether it was a figment of exhaustion-induced hallucination or a brush with the supernatural. The memory of the woman's touch and her haunting presence lingers, a constant reminder that some mysteries are best left unsolved and that the darkness of the night can reveal more than we're prepared to face.